Hello everyone, welcome back to Data Analysis YouTube channel. In this particular video, we will be talking about different functions that we can use to achieve results with dates. So we know that dates, which comprise of day, month, and year, is something that we use in our everyday life across all professions. There are actually very awesome functions in Microsoft Excel that we can use for dates operations, and we are going to go through them today. So the first one that I'd like to mention is today. It's a function called today. This function just basically tells you, it returns the date for that current day that you're working with Microsoft Excel. So, and this particular function does not have any argument at all, and it is easy. So to get this particular function, you just need to put the equal to sign, and you just type today. And of course, you see the option is out, today, and it returns the current date formatted as a date. And you hit the open bracket and you close, and you hit the enter button, and this is what we have. Easy peasy. Okay, so we can have a situation, of course, when you enter the date, the today function, you have a serial number instead of a date. This is because of the format that is being selected in the number section and the home tab. When you see that, you just change the format. So if, for example, of course, I have selected this cell, which is cell G7, and I come here to change the format to general. We see serial numbers instead of the date. And this is because of this format. This is just the issue. So all you need to do is to come here and change it to short date, and you have the date. Of course, you can use the long date format. When you use this, all you need to do is to expand the column width, and the long date format shows you the day on the calendar, and it shows you the month in full, the day and the year. Okay, so I am going to stick to short date, and we will go to another function, short date. Perfect. So another thing very remarkable to note is that if I save this Excel file and I open this Excel file tomorrow, we are going to see tomorrow's date here automatically updated. So this particular function updates itself automatically every new day. Every day that you open the Excel file, the today function updates itself automatically. So the next function we will talk about is day. Now, just imagine that you have dates lined up, just like I have here. It may not be very easy to identify which of these two values represent the day. So, for example, you have 5/7/2022, just like we have here. It is not easy to know which of the values stands for day and which of the values stands for the month. And we can use this function called day to decipher which of these numbers is the day and which of them is the month. Especially, this is the case, especially when your date is shown as a short date. Of course, if the date format is selected as the long date, let's select the long date. So when it is selected as a long date, of course, it is easy to know because here the month is displayed in full, okay? But when the date is displayed as a short date, it may not be very easy to understand which of the values is the day and which is the month. So you use this function called day. You just put the equal to, you open the bracket, and you only have one syntax, okay? And the syntax, of course, you select the serial number, and it says serial number because Excel recognizes dates as serial numbers. So you just close the bracket, and this is what we have. So here we have 7. This means that the day in this particular date is 7. And of course, it goes to say that 5 is the month, which is the year. And of course, to understand which of these values is the month, you use the month function, just like this. You open the bracket, you select the cell, and you close the bracket, and this is what we have. And the same thing goes for year. You open the bracket, you select this, you close the bracket, and it gives you the year. For this one, it was super obvious that the year was 2022. So if this is your first time for dropping by this channel, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and drop a comment in the comment section. And also hit the notification bell so that every time new contents are uploaded, you will be notified. So we go to the next argument, or we go to the next function rather, which is the date function. So we have a function called date. Okay, and this function is super interesting because just like the way it is, and I am going to do a simulation to show how this function works. So we have the date. For here, for the date function, all you need to it has 3 arguments. Okay, the argument for the year, the one for the month, and the one for the day. And for these particular 3 arguments, there are things that we need to consider, pitfalls for each of the arguments, such that if you do not respect the rules for the date function for each of the arguments, you may have an error returned for you by Microsoft Excel. So let us say you put the equal to sign and you type the date function, you open the bracket. Like I mentioned earlier, you have 3 arguments, which is the year, the month argument, and the day argument. So for the year, you just need to type, so let's say 2022, and for the month, okay, let's say 12, and for the day, let us say 01, and we close the bracket. So Excel has returned a proper date for me, okay, with the month, beginning with the month, and then we have the day, and then we have the year. So there's very important notes to consider when using the date function. So for each of the arguments, beginning from the year, if the date, if you impute any value for the year, okay, which is between, which is less than, which is less than 1900 or 1900, okay, Excel is going to add the value or that particular value to 1900 and return it as the year for you. And this is because the years that Microsoft Excel recognizes is only between 1900 and 9999. I'm going to take that again. The only years that Microsoft Excel recognizes is 1900 and 9999. Any date outside this range that has been mentioned, Excel is going to either add it for you or subtract it for you, depending on what the case may be. So let us just do an example. Let us do an example to say for the year you type maybe 100, and for the month we use the same, and the day is the same. Let us see what Excel will return for us. So Excel has returned year 2000, okay? And like I said before, this is because the year that we put was 100, okay? Just like we have here. So basically what Excel did was 1900 plus 100. This is what happened. And Excel just returned year 2000 for us. So if the year, like I mentioned earlier, is below 1900, Excel will add that value to 1900 and return that as the year. If you impute a year that is above 9999, so let us say we have this, and what is above 1999? Say 10,000. And we have the month. We also have the day as this. And we put this. We are going to have an error, just like we have here. Okay, so take note of this. It is super important. And this is why every time you want to use the date function, try as much as possible to write the date in, to write the year in full, so that Excel will return the exact value that you want it to return for you. Now, that is for the year. The next pitfall to consider greatly is for the month. We know that we have 12 months in the year. So whenever you type the date function and you get to the month argument and you use a value above 12, what Excel will do is that it will count from January, and it will add that value to the January value, and whichever month that it will take you to, that is the month that Excel will return for you. So I'm going to do a practical example. Let us assume that we have date right here, and then of course the year is 2022, and then we put, let's say 2021 instead, and then we use a month, say 15, and we use the date of 12, and we close the bracket. Now we are, of course there is no month like 15, but what I was explaining is this: Excel is going to um, calculate. So from January of 2021, add 15 months to January of 2021. What month are you going to get? So Excel has returned for us 12th of March 2022. This is what Excel has returned for us. I'm going to use the long date so that it is very straight to the point for us to understand. This is the formula that we used, but this is the value that Excel returned for us. This is because there is no, in the date syntax, it does not recognize 15. 15 does not stand for any month at all. So this is what Microsoft Excel has done. It is very important to know this. Now, what happens if you put a month value that is 0 or negative? What happens? Let us try this out. So let's say that we use the month that is negative, so equal to date, and then it's to 2021, and we put -2, and we put 12. What happens? So Excel will basically subtract the months, or it will go backwards from January of that current year that is put in the date. From January of the year that is put in the date function, Excel will count backwards, counting backwards into the previous year, depending on the value that is being supplied. So in this case, we have 12th of October, 2020. Remember, from January 2021, it took 2 months off. It took out December, it took out November, and now we have 12th of October 2020 returned for us because we used a negative value for the month syntax. Now, we go to the next argument. The next argument is the day argument itself. Now, for the day argument, it is important to note that Excel only recognizes days between the 1st to the 31st, because we do not have any calendar month that is 32nd. Neither do we have any calendar month that is 0 or -1 or -2. So the values of day that Microsoft Excel recognizes is 1 to the 31st. Okay, so when you supply a date beyond 31st, Excel will do, it will add that day and take you to the next month, depending on how many days you supplied in the function. So it will act basically like the differences in the month argument, where if you supply more than 12 months, it will add it, it will start counting from January, and it will add the number that you have given for the months. And if you use a negative month, it's going to do the subtraction. This is exactly the same process for the day, and we are going to see that right away. So we open the date, and then we use 2021, and for the month it's 12, but for the day we are going to use 36, because we know that there is no day in the calendar month that is 36. We only have 31. And very important to note that it will also consider the number of days for the month that is being supplied in the function. So in this case, we have 12, which is December, which has 31 days. And this means that after you count 31 days, out of this 36 that has been imputed, you have 5 more days to go, right? So let us see what this will give us. This has given us the 5th of January 2022. And I'm going to put that in the long date so that it's very clear. 5th of January 2022. So this is what Microsoft Excel does for us, and this is how the date function works. Okay, so in addition to entering the date manually, just like we had done in this example, we are going to take another example where you can return a date based on values in other cells. So in this case, you just basically do this, open the bracket, type date, and instead of entering the year, month, and the day manually, you can just use, you can just do a cell reference just like this, the month and the year, and you close the bracket. And this is what we have. Easy peasy, right? So the next example that we're going to look into is how to convert a string or a number to a date. Now, this is the information that we were supplied. Sometimes it depends on the application. It depends on how the information was downloaded from the system. You can have your dates represented like this. And of course, if you see in the format section, you can see that this is under the number format. This is shown as general. It is not a date. Let us see if we can even convert this to a date and see what we have. So you can see that trying to convert this to a date is not working, because I even selected the short date option. It's not working, okay? And this is because Microsoft Excel does not recognize this as a date at all. So how do we go around this? So what we can do is that we can use other functions in the date function to solve this particular problem. But of course, we are going to use the date function. And we know that from this arrangement, of course, the year is 2021, okay? And 05 is the month, and 15 is the day, okay? We know that this is the format of arrangement, but Microsoft Excel does not recognize that as a date because it is a string. It is a set of numbers in the eyes of Excel. So what we do is that we are going to add some other functions, and one of the functions that we're going to use is write. Of course, the write function tells you to refer to a cell reference, and the non-chars is 4. And basically how we got this was you're going to have to count from the right. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 digits from the right gives us the year, okay? And then we close the bracket. And then we have sorted for the year. The next is the month. For the month, we are going to use the mid function, and we open the bracket. And of course, we need to select the text. And the way the mid function works, it has 3 arguments. You select the text first. The next argument is the starting number, okay? You're going to select the position. the position of the starting number, not the starting number value, the position of the starting number. In this case, we know that the month is 05 and the starting number for the month is 0 and the position is position number 3, counting from the left. 1, 2, 3. So counting from the left, the position of number of the value 0 is the third position. So you put 3 and you put the comma, and the norm chars is how many numbers here represent the month. It is 2. And then we close this bracket and we put the comma, and for the day we are going to use another function called left. And we open the bracket and we select the reference and we put the comma, and the norm chars is 2. How many numbers represent the date? 1, 2. And we put 2 there and we close the bracket, and we need another bracket to close the other one. And this is what we have nicely written out. We can see the format here. It's the date. If just in case you're working this out on your own and you have something like this, all you just need to remember, need to remember to go to the number format and change the format from general to short date or long date. It depends on what you have. So I'm going to run the formula again so that we can catch. But another thing I could do is I can just drag it down like this. Okay, and to drag down, just notice what I did. I basically took the mouse pointer to the intersection just by the bottom right until the cursor sign changed to another symbol. This is the symbol we have right here, and you see that you can notice that the cursor symbol has changed to this dark cross that we have. Okay, and then we can drag down. You hold down on your mouse button and you drag. Okay, this is one way that we can fix this. Another way that we can fix this is, of course, by okay, so we are going to enter the function again so that we can follow up. You open the date, and then the first one, because the first argument is the year, and this is what we want to get. Okay, so for the year, we are going to use the right function, and we choose the text. The norm chars is 4, and we close the bracket and we put the comma separator, and the next one is the month. We are going to use the mid. This is the text, and the starting number. The starting number for the month is 0, but the starting number argument needs you to provide the position of the starting number, not the starting number itself, not the value, but the position. The position of 0 in this case is 3. So we put that, and the norm chars is how many of these values represent, how many of these values do you want? Starting from 0 to how many? So the position, right? So we need 2 values starting from 0. And this is why I'm putting this. And then you put a comma, and then for the day, we're going to use the left function. You open the bracket, we select the text. The norm chars is 2, and we close the bracket and we close the other bracket. And here we go. So this is what we have. And for the last one, I'm just going to add one to this, and I can just drag this down just like I mentioned previously. So like I mentioned before, if this is your first time of joining this YouTube channel, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and hit the notification bell so that you can get notified whenever we post new contents to the YouTube channel. We are going to look at adding and subtracting dates in Excel. So we can actually add dates and subtract dates in Microsoft Excel. It's an easy operation to carry out, but something to note is that when you're doing the subtraction, it subtracts from the day, not the month or the year. The subtraction happens on the day, or the addition happens on the day only. So let's say we want to subtract this particular date that we have right here. We want to subtract, say, 5 days from this particular day. What do we do? So all we need to do is this minus 5. And this is what we have. So just like you have seen here, okay, the first value is the month. Okay, so this is December, and this is 3rd of December 2021, minus 5 days is certainly 28th of November 2021. Okay, and then let us add, for the next example, let us add 10 days to this, so plus 10, and this is what we have. So 1st of February 2022 plus 10 days is certainly 11th of February 2022. And let us add another function to this. So let's say today minus this date that is shown here, and let's see what happens. Now in this situation, right, we are expecting a number. For this particular operation, we are expecting a number, not a date. And this is showing up because the format that the number format is a date format and not general. So we need to come here to change the number format, and then we have 348 days. So the difference between today's date, as at the day I am making this video, it's the 16th of December 2022. The difference between 16th of December 2022 and the 2nd of January 2022 is 348. The next function that we are going to look at is weeknum. Okay, so weeknum is basically the short form of week number, and this function helps you to see the week that a particular date falls in. We know there are 52 weeks in a year, and of course every date falls in a week, right? So you want to know which week number the date falls in. It's easy to use this function to get that. And this particular function called weeknum, just like this, has two arguments. The first argument says serial number, which is the date that you're going to choose, the date that you want to determine the week number, that's the week that it falls in. And this particular argument is compulsory. Okay, this argument, the serial number argument, is compulsory. Remember that I said earlier that Microsoft Excel recognizes dates as serial numbers. So the return type function is actually optional. And we are not going to go into the return type argument in this particular video. We will look at it in another video. So we are going to select this as a serial number, and then we close the bracket and hit the enter button, and this is what we have. So I'm just going to drag it down like this and get the week number for all these other dates that are represented. So this particular date falls in the 12th week of the year 2022. And another important note to always remember is that by default, the weeknum functions assumes that the first day of the week is a Sunday by default, except you tell Excel otherwise, that the beginning of the week is a Monday. But by default, Excel recognizes that the first day of the week is a Sunday. So in the year 2022, this particular date, which is the 8th of March 2022, falls in the 11th week. So of course, from this, and this we have here the sales amount. So let us assume this is a download of a sales record. that was sent to us. I am just going to add the currency, and for the currency, I am going to add, I need to see other currencies, okay? Here you can have an array of currencies. Before I forget, I would like to just add that there's a particular video that details everything on the number formatting, okay? The link to that video is in the description box. And so that's it. So we move to doing other operations from this information that we have generated. Let us assume that we want to get the SUMIF, the AVERAGEIF, and the COUNTIF based on a certain criteria. And let's say the criteria is the weeks, okay? And let us assume the criteria is 4. So we want to know the sum of all the sales that took place in the 4th week of the year. Okay, so all we need to do is this SUMIF, open the bracket, we get the range. The range is the column that your criteria sits in. And of course, you come and select your criteria and you get the sum range. The sum range is the range of all the column that you want to add up, okay? And here we go. So this is what we have. If you add all the transactions, all the sales that took place in the 4th week, you're going to get this particular value, which is what we have right here. So let us see the average if, how this works. Average if, you open the bracket, the same thing, the range information is the column where you have your criteria, and you select the criteria, and the average range is the range, the column that you want to find the average. And of course, you close the bracket, and this is what we have. Now, I want to count. The next function is COUNTIF. I want to know how many transactions, how many sales took place in the 4th week of the year 2022. So I use the COUNTIF function to achieve this. And here I choose the range. The range is the column that the criteria sits in. I use the comma separator, and then I select the criteria, and this is what I have. 2 sales took place in the 4th week of 2022. Okay, and of course, there is an elaborate video on how to use SUMIF, AVERAGEIF, COUNTIF, and also SUMIF-S, AVERAGEIF-S, and COUNTIF-S. Okay, and the link to that video is in the description box. When you go to that video, you're going to understand all the details about SUMIF and SUMIF-S, AVERAGEIF, AVERAGEIF-S, and COUNTIF, COUNTIF-S. We can also go a step further with this information that we have. We can go a step further to apply conditional formatting to this, okay? So let us, for conditional formatting, you of course need to select the range that you want to apply the conditional formatting to, and you click on the drop down for conditional formatting. I want to highlight cells that is less than a particular value. Okay, so I want to highlight all the cells that is less than 5. So I put 5 here, and I want my format to show in a green field with dark green text, and I click on OK, and this is what I have. Okay, so we can apply conditional formatting to this, and let's say we activate the filter, and you click on the drop down. You can choose to filter by color, and this is the information that we have. Based on the conditional formatting that we have done, these are all the transactions, or these are all the sales that took place in the weeks that are below 5. Okay, and there is also a very elaborate video on conditional formatting. The link to that video is in the description box. So please do well to check the description box to watch the video on conditional formatting if you're not very conversant with it. And the link to this particular file that I'm using for this tutorial is in the description box as well. You can download the file so that you can have a hands-on on the formulas that we have learned today. So far, we have learned how to do today. We have learned the day function, the month function, the year function. We have also learned the date function and the pitfalls that is associated with all the arguments, which is the year argument, the month argument, and the day argument. We have also learned how to return a date based on the values in other cells. We have learned how to convert a string or a number to a date. We have also learned how to add and subtract dates in Excel. We have learned how to use WEEKNUM and also apply SUMIF, AVERAGEIF, and COUNTIF to the results that we have. And we also have learned how to apply conditional formatting to the outputs that we have. Please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to this YouTube channel because you're going to have more content on Microsoft Excel come your way. And you can contact me via the social media channels that is in the description box. You can contact me personally for a one-on-one session on Microsoft Excel. And of course, please share this video with your friends and your colleagues. And I'll see you in another video.